The Great Chamber of the Galaxy Council was the largest room Captain Sarah Chen had ever seen. It stretched upward like a canyon made of light and metal. Thousands of seats rose in circles around the central platform. Each seat held a delegate from a different alien species. Some had scales. Some had crystals growing from their bodies. Some floated in tanks of strange liquids. All of them were looking down at the small group of humans standing in the center. Captain Admiral Marcus Vance stood at the front of the human delegation. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face that showed no emotion. His uniform was simple and dark. He had served humanity for 40 years. He had fought in 3 wars. He had negotiated with alien species that considered humans to be nothing more than clever animals. Today would be his last day in this chamber. Sarah stood 2 steps behind him. She was younger, with black hair tied back in a tight knot. Her eyes moved across the alien faces above her. She had learned to read their expressions over the years. The Valori, with their bodies made of living crystal, showed their feelings through the colors that moved beneath their surface. Right now, most of them glowed with shades of blue and purple. Those colors meant satisfaction, comfort. They believed they had already won. The Crix Collective sat in their section like a wall of dark shells and clicking legs. The insect species communicated through chemical signals and movements. Sarah could see them rubbing their front legs together. That gesture meant amusement. They were laughing at the humans. High Arbiter Vel Nox rose from his seat. He was the leader of the council, a Valori whose crystal body was older than human civilization. Light bent strangely around him as he moved. "The council has heard the petition from the human species," Vel Nox announced. His voice echoed through the chamber like wind through a cave. "They request full membership status. They request removal of the technology restrictions. They request an end to the quarantine zones around their colonies." He paused. The colors in his body shifted to a cold, pale blue. "The council votes no. This is the 47th rejection. The humans remain a provisional species under observation." Sarah felt nothing. She had expected this. They all had. For 300 years, humanity had been part of the galaxy's community. They had joined with hope and excitement. They had believed that the stars were full of friends waiting to meet them. They had been wrong. The other species called humans Deathworlders. Earth was considered a nightmare planet. Too much gravity. Too much radiation. Too many predators. The fact that humans had survived there made them dangerous in the eyes of the council. Dangerous things needed to be controlled. So the council had controlled them. Humans could not build ships above a certain size. Humans could not travel to certain regions of space. Humans could not research certain technologies. Every human colony had council observers watching everything they did. The restrictions were explained as safety measures. The truth was simpler. The council was afraid. Captain Admiral Vance stepped forward. The chamber fell silent. Even the Crix stopped their clicking. "I want to thank the council for their time," Vance said. His voice was calm and steady. "Humanity has learned much during our 3 centuries among you. We have learned about patience. We have learned about dignity. We have learned exactly what the galaxy thinks of us." He looked up at the thousands of alien faces. "We have also learned that some doors will never open, no matter how long you knock. So, we have decided to stop knocking." Vel Nox leaned forward. The colors in his body shifted to orange. Confusion. "What do you mean, human?" Vance turned to Sarah. He gave her a small nod. Sarah lifted her hand to the communication device on her wrist. She had practiced this moment 1,000 times in her mind. Her finger pressed a single button. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet," she said clearly. "Authorization code Omega 77. The Exodus Protocol is now active. I repeat, Exodus Protocol is active." For a moment, nothing happened. Then her device beeped once. A confirmation signal from Earth. Sarah looked up at the council. "We are leaving," she said simply. Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. The cricks clicked loudly. Some of the velori flickered with bright colors of amusement. Even Vel Nox made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "Leaving?" he said. "And where will you go, little humans? You cannot survive without council support. Your technology is limited. Your resources are small. You will come crawling back within 10 cycles, begging for readmission." Vance smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Perhaps," he said. "Or perhaps you do not know us as well as you think." He turned and walked toward the exit. Sarah followed him. The rest of the human delegation fell in behind them. None of them looked back. As they walked through the long corridors of the council station, Sarah could hear the aliens behind them still laughing. The sound echoed off the walls, like the chattering of birds. "They think we are bluffing," Sarah said quietly. "Of course they do," Vance replied. "They have never understood humans. They see our short lives and think we cannot plan for the future. They see our small bodies and think we are weak. They see our emotions and think we are primitive." They reached the docking bay where their shuttle waited. Vance stopped and turned to face Sarah. "They made one mistake," he said. "The biggest mistake anyone can make about humans." "What mistake?" "They made us angry, and then they gave us 300 years to do something about it." Sarah nodded slowly. She thought about what was waiting for them. The secret stations in dark space, the hidden fleets, the technology that the council believed was impossible. 2 centuries of work, all done in silence, all done in shadow. The other species had never watched humans carefully enough. They had been too busy feeling superior. They had missed the signs. The extra mining operations that produced more material than records showed. The scientists who disappeared from public life. The ships that went into deep space and never returned to known territories. Humanity had been building something vast, something that would change everything. As their shuttle lifted off from the council station, Sarah watched the great structure grow smaller in the window. Thousands of species, millions of years of history, all gathered in one place. They believed they ruled the galaxy. They believed they understood all its secrets. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Send the signal to all Earth colonies," Vance ordered. "Begin Phase 2 of Exodus Protocol. We have 6 months to move 50 billion people." Sarah began typing the commands. Behind her, the council station disappeared into the stars. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since the day humanity told the Galaxy Council goodbye. In that time, Captain Sarah Chen had not slept more than 4 hours on any night. There was too much work to do, too many ships to move, too many people to save. She stood now on the bridge of her ship, the UEF Prometheus, watching the impossible happen through the main window. Before her floated Citadel Prime. It was not a station. It was not a ship. It was a city that flew through space. 20 kilometers long and 8 kilometers wide. It hung in the darkness between galaxies like a metal moon. Lights glittered across its surface. Ships moved around it like insects around a hive. This was humanity's greatest secret. This was what they had built while the Council watched them and laughed. Captain Admiral Vance's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Chen, report status of Evacuation Fleet 7. Sarah checked her displays. Numbers and symbols flowed across the screens. Fleet 7 has completed pickup from the Asian continental zone. 14 billion people are now aboard transport vessels. Medical checks are finished. All ships report ready for dark space transit. Good. That leaves the final group from the European and African zones. How long? Gom. 12 hours, sir. Then Earth will be empty." She let those words hang in the air. Earth. Empty. The planet where humanity had been born. The world that had shaped them, challenged them, nearly killed them 100 times. In 12 hours, not a single human would remain there. It was necessary. Sarah understood that. The Council would eventually send ships to check on their provisional species. They would find nothing. No people. No buildings. No trace that humans had ever lived there. Cleanup crews were already working across the planet, removing every sign of human presence. Even the bacteria would be gone. Let the council wonder. Let them panic. Let them finally understand what they had lost. Vance appeared beside her. He had taken a shuttle from Citadel Prime to observe the final evacuation personally. His face looked tired, but his eyes were sharp and alert. 200 years, he said quietly. That is how long we have been preparing for this day. Sarah nodded. She knew the history. Every human child learned it in school, though they were taught to keep it secret. It had started small. A group of scientists who grew tired of council restrictions. They had discovered something in the old records, something the council had hidden from younger species. The galaxy was not safe. There were things at the edges of the universe. Things that wanted to get in. The council kept them out using ancient technology called boundary engines. But the council used this technology as a weapon too. Obey us, they told every species, or we will let the darkness in. The scientists had shared their discovery with Earth's leaders. And Earth's leaders had made a decision. If the council would never accept humanity as equals, then humanity would leave. But they would not leave empty-handed. For 2 centuries, humans had worked in secret. They built hidden stations in the dark spaces between stars where no one ever looked. They developed new technologies. Things the council said were impossible. They created ships that could travel not just between stars, but between galaxies. And they had found the boundary engines. The council kept them hidden in a place they thought no one could reach. They were wrong. Human spies had located them decades ago. Human engineers had studied them. Human factories had built copies. And now, human soldiers had taken the originals. The boundary engines are secure, Vance said, as if reading her thoughts. Admiral Torres reports that installation on the fleet carriers is complete. When we leave, the engines come with us. Sarah felt a cold satisfaction at those words. The council had used those engines to control every species in the galaxy for millions of years. Now, they would have to survive without them. We left them the backup systems, she said. And the instructions. Vance smiled grimly. Instructions they will never understand. The Valori think they are the smartest beings in the universe. Let them prove it. Through the window, Sarah could see more ships arriving. Thousands of them, carrying millions of people. Families with children. Old people who had never expected to leave Earth. Young people eager for adventure. All of them were leaving everything they had known behind. But they were not sad. Sarah had walked among them during the evacuation. She had expected to find grief and fear. Instead, she found excitement. Hope. For the first time in 300 years, humans did not have to pretend. They did not have to hide their true abilities. They did not have to bow to alien masters, who saw them as dangerous animals. They were free. Sir, a voice called from the communication station. We are receiving transmissions from Council space, multiple channels. Sarah walked over to check the readings. They have noticed something. Their monitoring stations are detecting unusual energy patterns at the edge of the galaxy. Do they know what they are seeing? No, sir. They seem confused. Some reports suggest they think it might be a natural phenomenon. Others are worried it might be a new threat. Vance laughed softly. They are half right. It is a threat. Just not the kind they imagine. The energy patterns were caused by the Exodus fleet, powering up its main drives. 12,000 ships, each one larger than anything the Council thought humans could build, were preparing to punch a hole through space itself. They would travel to another galaxy, one the Council had never explored. One where humanity could grow without limits. Signal Citadel Prime, Vance ordered. Tell them to begin final preparations. We leave in 20 hours. Sarah sent the message. As she did, she thought about what they were leaving behind. the Council would survive. The backup boundary engines would protect them for 500 years, maybe more. That was enough time for them to learn how to maintain the systems themselves, or enough time for them to fail. Sarah found that she did not care much either way. The Council had 300 years to treat humanity with respect. They had chosen instead to treat them like prisoners, like pets, like things to be controlled and contained. Now they would learn what happened when you caged something that was never meant to be caged. The last transport ships were arriving now. Sarah watched them dock with the larger carrier vessels. 50 billion people, the entire human species, gathered in one place for the first time in history. It should have felt dangerous. Instead, it felt right. The Council will send ships to investigate soon, Sarah said. When they find Earth empty, what will they do? Vance looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the aliens who had rejected humanity were going about their normal lives. They had no idea that the universe was about to change. First, they will not believe it, Vance said. Then they will be angry. Then they will be afraid. And then, when they finally understand what we have taken and where we have gone, they will know true horror. Of none. He turned to face her directly. We are not running away, Captain. We are moving on. There is a difference. The Council wanted us small and weak and dependent. We refused. That is all this is, a refusal. Sarah understood. Humanity was not escaping. Humanity was choosing. Choosing to build something new, somewhere new. Without the chains the galaxy had tried to put on them, in 20 hours, they would be gone. And the Council would finally see what they had lost. The emergency alarm had been ringing in the Galaxy Council chamber for 3 days straight. No one could figure out how to turn it off. No one really cared anymore. There were bigger problems. High Arbiter Vel Nox stood at the center of the great chamber. His crystal body had turned gray, a color that the Valori only showed when they were experiencing deep shock. Around him, thousands of delegates were shouting in 100 different languages. Some were crying. Some were praying to gods that had been forgotten for millions of years. Silence, Vel Nox commanded. His voice boomed through the chamber like thunder. The noise slowly died down. Admiral Crix. Thar. Show them the images again. Admiral Crix Thar, of the Crix Collective, moved forward. The insectoid commander looked wrong somehow. His usually shiny black shell had become dull. His movements were slow and uncertain. He pressed a button on his control device, and a massive hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed Earth, or rather, it showed where Earth had been. The planet still existed. It still orbited its sun. Its moon still circled around it, but everything else was wrong. The blue oceans were still there, but they looked empty. The green forests were still there, but no birds flew above them. The cities that had once held billions of humans were gone, not destroyed, not abandoned. Simply gone, as if they had never existed. Our investigation teams have completed their survey, Crixthar said. His voice clicked and buzzed with barely controlled fear. The humans are gone. All of them. 50 billion individuals have vanished. Their buildings have been removed. Their roads have been removed. Even their bacteria have been removed. The planet has been cleaned, as if they were never there. Murmurs of disbelief spread through the chamber. That is impossible, someone shouted. No species can move 50 billion people in 6 months. No species can erase all evidence of their existence. The humans do not have that technology. Crixthar made a sound that might have been a bitter laugh. He changed the hologram. Now it showed a region of space at the edge of the galaxy. Strange patterns of light swirled there. Colors that did not exist in nature. This is what our sensors detected 17 days ago, Crixthar explained. At first, we thought it was a natural event, a supernova perhaps, or a dimensional rift. We sent a scientific team to investigate. He paused. His compound eyes seemed to stare at nothing. The team found energy signatures consistent with approximately 12,000 vessels. The smallest was 3 kilometers long, The largest was over 20 kilometers. They detected technology that should not exist. Engines that bend space itself. Shields that absorb stars. Weapons that could crack planets. The chamber erupted into chaos again. Velnox raised his hand for silence. You are saying the humans built all of this? In secret? Under our watch? Yes, High Arbiter. For approximately 200 of their years, they have been building in the dark spaces between star systems, places we do not monitor because nothing is supposed to be there. They used our own lack of interest against us. A Novani delegate floated forward. The Novani were beings of pure energy, ancient and wise. Their kind had existed before most stars were born. There is worse news, the Novani said. Its voice was like wind through empty halls. Tell them about the engines. Krixthar's shell seemed to grow even duller. The humans have taken the boundary engines. For a moment, no one understood. Then, slowly, the meaning sank in. Screams filled the chamber. Several delegates fainted. One Valori cracked down the middle from pure shock. The boundary engines were the most important technology in the universe. They had been built by a species so old that no one remembered their name. These engines created a barrier around the galaxy, a wall of force that kept out the void entities. The void entities were things that existed beyond normal space. They were not alive in any way that made sense. They did not think or feel. They simply consumed. If they ever got through the barrier, they would eat everything. Every star. Every planet. Every living thing. The Council had guarded the boundary engines for millions of years. They had used them to control every species in the galaxy. Follow our rules, they said, or we will let the void in. It was the ultimate threat. No one dared to challenge it. Now the engines were gone. The humans cannot have taken them, Velnox said. His voice shook. The engines are hidden in a place that no younger species could find. They are protected by defenses that no younger species could defeat. The humans found them. Krixthar replied. The humans defeated the defenses. The humans took them. All of them. Then we are all dead. The void will break through. Everything will end. No. Krixthar held up a data crystal. They left us something. A message and instructions. He activated the crystal. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a human face. Captain Admiral Marcus Vance looked out at the alien delegates with cold, steady eyes. By now, you have discovered that we are gone, the recording said. You have also discovered that we have taken the boundary engines. Before you panic, let me explain. The recording paused, as if Vance had wanted to let his words sink in. We have left automated systems in place to maintain the barrier. These systems will function for approximately 500 of your standard years. After that, you will need to maintain the barrier yourselves. We have also left complete instructions on how to do this. Another pause. You probably think this is revenge. It is not. If we wanted revenge, we would have simply taken the engines and left you to die. We did not do that. We gave you a chance. 500 years to learn. 500 years to grow. 500 years to become something better than what you are now. Vance's eyes seemed to stare directly at Velnox. You treated humanity like animals for 300 years. You denied us respect. You denied us freedom. You denied us the stars. So we are leaving to find stars of our own. We are going to a place you cannot follow. A place you will never find. A new galaxy. Untouched and waiting. The recording flickered. Perhaps one day we will return. Perhaps by then, you will have learned that fear is a poor basis for civilization. Perhaps you will finally see other species as partners instead of threats. But I doubt it. You have had millions of years to learn that lesson, and you have failed every time. The recording began to fade. Goodbye, Galaxy Council. Try not to destroy yourselves before we return. It would be such a waste of a perfectly good galaxy. The hologram disappeared. The chamber was silent. Velnox moved slowly to the data crystal. He picked it up and examined it. Inside were the instructions the humans had promised. Millions of pages of technical details on how to maintain the boundary engines. Can we understand this? He asked quietly. Can we learn to maintain the barrier ourselves? The Novani delegate drifted closer. It examined the data for a long moment. Perhaps, it said finally, in 500 years, with great effort and sacrifice, we might learn enough to survive. Might. The humans understand things we do not. They see connections we cannot see. Their minds work in ways that are strange to us. This knowledge, they have left. It is like a puzzle designed by someone far smarter than us. Velnox felt something he had not felt in a million years. True fear. Not the fear of an enemy that could be fought. The fear of realizing that you have made a terrible mistake, and there is no way to fix it. What have we done? He whispered. No one answered. The alarm continued to ring. Somewhere beyond the galaxy, humanity sailed toward a new home. They had left the council behind. They had left their chains behind. They had left everything behind, except their pride and their determination. And the council could only watch in horror as they disappeared into the dark. Through the main window, she could see it all. Billions of stars, millions of worlds, countless species, all gathered in a spiral of light that had been humanity's home for 300 years. It was beautiful. It was vast. And it was no longer theirs. Around the Prometheus, the Exodus fleet moved in perfect formation. 12,000 ships, carrying 50 billion humans, sailing through a tunnel of bent space towards something new. The drives hummed with power that the Council would not understand for 10,000 years. The shields glowed with energy that defied their laws of physics. Everything about this fleet was impossible by Council standards. That was exactly the point. Captain Admiral Vance stood beside Sarah. His hands were clasped behind his back. His eyes were fixed on the shrinking galaxy. 20 hours ago, we were prisoners, he said quietly. Now, we are pioneers. Strange, how quickly things can change. Sarah nodded. She thought about her grandmother, who had died never knowing that humanity had been planning this escape. She thought about her parents, who had spent their lives pretending to be humble and weak so the Council would not suspect. She thought about all the generations of humans who had sacrificed and planned and worked in secret so that this moment could happen. Do you think they understand yet? She asked. The Council, I mean. Do you think they know what they lost? Vance was quiet for a moment. Not yet. Right now, they are probably still arguing about whose fault this is. They will blame each other for years. Then, when the first maintenance cycles on the barrier systems begin to fail, they will finally realize the truth. And what is the truth? That they never really knew us at all. They saw humans as simple creatures, driven by emotion and limited by our short lives. They never understood that those things are our greatest strengths. Our emotions give us passion. Our short lives force us to act quickly, to build quickly, to dream quickly. A Valori can spend 1,000 years thinking about a problem. A human will solve it in 10 years or die trying. A communication officer called out from across the bridge. Captain, we are receiving transmissions from behind us. Council vessels are following at maximum speed. Sarah checked the tactical display. A dozen small ships were chasing the fleet, their engines burning at dangerous levels. They would never catch up. The Exodus fleet was moving faster than anything in the Council's technology could match. But they were trying anyway. Open a channel, Sarah ordered. Let us hear what they have to say. The bridge speakers crackled to life. A voice filled with desperation spoke in the common trade language that all species used. Human fleet, this is High Arbiter Velnox of the Galaxy Council. Please respond. We wish to negotiate. We are prepared to offer full citizenship status, removal of all restrictions, access to all technologies. Please respond. Sarah looked at Vance. His face showed no emotion. We are also prepared to apologize publicly for the treatment of humanity over the past 3 centuries, the voice continued. We recognize that mistakes were made. We ask only for a chance to correct them. Please, stop your departure. Let us talk. Vance walked slowly to the communication console. He stared at it for a long moment. Hi, Arbiter, he said finally. 300 years ago, when humans first met your council, we came with open hearts. We came hoping to find friends among the stars. Instead, we found masters who saw us as dangerous animals to be controlled. His voice remained calm, but Sarah could hear the weight of centuries in his words. We asked for equality 47 times. 47 times, you said no. You told us we were too young, too primitive, too dangerous. You put chains on our ships and walls around our colonies. You watched everything we did and punished us for dreaming too big. He paused. And now, when we have found our own path, you offer us everything we asked for. Now, when we no longer need you, you beg us to stay. Do you know what that tells me? High Arbiter? What? It tells me that you were never afraid of what we might do if we were free. You were afraid of what we might become. And looking at this fleet, looking at what we built while you were busy laughing at us, I think you were right to be afraid. End quote. Sarah watched the council ships on the display. They were falling further behind. With every passing second. We are not coming back, High Arbiter. Not today, not tomorrow. Perhaps you will have learned that fear is not the same as wisdom. Perhaps you will have built a galaxy worth living in. But I doubt it. Vance straightened his back. Goodbye, High Arbiter. Take care of our old home. Try not to destroy it before we return. He cut the communication. The bridge was silent. Sarah looked out the window again. The galaxy was now just a smear of light in the distance, like a glowing cloud. Soon it would be just another point of light among millions. Soon it would disappear entirely. All ships report ready for final transition, the navigation officer announced. We are approaching the edge of local space. Intergalactic drives are fully powered. On my mark. Prepare for final transition. We are about to do something no species has ever done. We are about to leave our birth galaxy and travel to a new home. Remember this moment. Tell your children and your grandchildren. Tell them that humanity refused to be caged. Tell them that when the universe tried to make us small, we found a way to grow. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. She did not wipe them away. This was a moment worth crying over. This was history being made. Mark. The universe twisted. Light bent in ways that hurt to watch. Colors that had no names flashed across the windows. Every human in the fleet felt a strange sensation, as if they were being stretched and compressed at the same time. It lasted for one heartbeat. It lasted for 1,000 years. It was over, in an instant, and then they were somewhere else. Sarah looked out the window. Before her was a new galaxy, untouched by the Council, unexplored by any known species. Billions of stars waited there. Billions of worlds waited there. A new home waited there. Behind them, impossibly far behind them, the Milky Way was just a tiny spot of light. A memory. A chapter that had ended. The bridge crew began to cheer. Across the fleet, 50 billion humans celebrated. They hugged each other and cried and laughed and shouted. They had done it. They had actually done it. Captain Admiral Vance put his hand on Sarah's shoulder. Well, Captain Chen, welcome to the Andromeda Galaxy. What do you think? Sarah looked at the sea of unknown stars. Somewhere out there were planets waiting to be discovered. Oceans waiting to be sailed. Mountains waiting to be climbed. A whole new chapter of human history waiting to be written. I think, she said slowly, that we are going to need a lot more ships. Vance laughed. It was the first real laugh Sarah had heard from him in years. Then we will build them. We are humans, after all. Building things is what we do. He turned to address the entire fleet through the communication system. Attention all ships. This is Captain Admiral Vance. We have arrived. The journey was long, but we made it together. Now a new journey begins. A journey of exploration, of building, of growing. We will make mistakes. We will face challenges. But we will face them as free people, not as prisoners. We will face them as pioneers, not as servants. He looked at Sarah and smiled. Welcome home, humanity. Let us see what wonders await us. The fleet began to move forward, into the unknown, into the future. Behind them, a galaxy full of alien species wondered what had just happened. Ahead of them, the universe waited with open arms. 1 year had passed since humanity left. 1 year of chaos, fear, and desperate work. 1 year of the Galaxy Council slowly understanding just how badly they had failed. High Arbiter Velnox no longer looked like himself. His crystal body, once bright and commanding, had become dull and cracked. The stress had aged him in ways that should have been impossible for his species. He sat alone in his private chamber, staring at reports that grew worse with each passing day. The automated barrier systems were working. That was the only good news. The void entities had not broken through. The galaxy was still safe. For now, the problem was the future. The humans had left detailed instructions on how to maintain the boundary engines. Teams of the greatest scientists from every species had been working on understanding those instructions for 12 months. They had made almost no progress. The instructions were not wrong. They were not incomplete. They were simply too advanced. The humans had understood things about space and time and energy that the Council had never imagined. Reading their instructions was like asking a child to read a book written for ancient scholars. The words were there, but the meaning was lost. A soft chime announced a visitor. Velnox did not look up. Enter. The Novani elder drifted into the room. Its energy form flickered with colors of deep concern. You wished to see me, High Arbiter? Yes. Tell me about your visions. The Novanani were unique among the galaxy's species. They could sometimes see shadows of the future. Not clearly, not reliably, but enough to offer guidance. Since the humans left, Velnox had asked the Novani elders to focus all their power on one question. What would happen when humanity returned? The elder was silent for a long moment. I have seen possibilities, it said finally. The future is not fixed. Many paths exist, but in all of them, one thing remains constant. What? The humans will return, and when they do, they will be different. Changed. Evolved in ways that we cannot predict or understand. Velnox felt his crystal body grow cold. How different? I cannot say clearly. In some visions, they return as saviors, coming to help us against threats we cannot face alone. In other visions, they return as conquerors, taking everything we built. In a few visions, they return as something else entirely. Something that is no longer human in any way we would recognize. How long? How long until they return? The elder's energy form swirled with uncertainty. Centuries. Perhaps 1,000 years. Perhaps 5,000. Time moves differently where they have gone. They could live entire ages, while only decades pass here. Velnox closed his eyes. 1,000 years. 5,000 years. The barrier systems would last 500 at most. After that, the galaxy would need to maintain them independently. If they failed, the void would consume everything. And somewhere out there, in another galaxy entirely, humanity was growing stronger. Learning more. Becoming something new. What have we done? Velnox whispered. It was not the first time he had asked that question. He knew it would not be the last. Across the galaxy, other species were asking the same question. The Crix Collective had gone silent. Their hive minds had turned inward, focusing all their mental energy on trying to understand the human technology left behind. Some reports said they were making progress. Other reports said the effort was driving them insane. The Valori had split into factions. Some blamed the humans for abandoning them. Others blamed the Council for driving the humans away. Arguments had turned to fights. Fights had turned to wars. 3 Valori worlds had already been destroyed by their own people. The smaller species, the ones who had always lived in the shadow of the great powers, watched everything with growing fear. If the mighty Council could not protect them, who would? Some had started building their own fleets in secret. Others had begun worshipping the absent humans as gods who might return to save them. And in the empty space where Earth once orbited its sun, a single beacon continued to broadcast its message. To the Galaxy Council and all member species, humanity bears you no ill will. We simply refuse to be caged. The barriers will protect you for 5 centuries. Use that time wisely. Learn. Grow. Become worthy of the stars. Captain Sarah Chen's voice was calm and clear. She had recorded this message before the Exodus fleet made its final jump. She had known that billions of aliens would hear it. She had chosen every word with care. Perhaps when we return, we can finally meet as equals. Until then, try not to destroy yourselves. The final line was from Captain Admiral Vance. His voice carried a weight that made listeners feel small. We were never your prisoners. We were never your pets. We were always just patient. Counselors had listened to that message thousands of times. They analyzed every word, looking for hidden meanings, secret threats, clues about what humanity was planning. They found nothing. The message meant exactly what it said. Humanity had been patient. They had waited 300 years for the Council to accept them. When acceptance never came, they left. They did not attack. They did not take revenge. They simply walked away and took the most important technology in the universe with them. That was what truly horrified the Council. If the humans had been angry, that would have made sense. If they had tried to destroy their enemies, that would have been understandable. Violence was something the Council knew how to handle. They had fought wars for millions of years, but the humans had not been violent. They had been practical. They had looked at the situation, decided that the galaxy was not worth fighting for, and left. They had removed themselves from the equation entirely, and they had done it with such perfect planning, such incredible secrecy, such overwhelming capability, that the entire galaxy was left wondering what else they could have done if they had wanted to. Velnox finally looked up at the Novani Elder. In your visions of the future, is there any path where we survive without the humans returning? Any path where we learn to maintain the barriers ourselves? The Elder was quiet for a very long time. There are such paths, it said at last. But they are narrow. They require the galaxy to change completely. Every species must work together. Every secret must be shared. Every conflict must be set aside. You must become something you have never been before. Arding. And if we fail to change, then the barriers will fall, the void will come, and humanity will find nothing but empty space when they return. Velnox stood slowly. His old body creaked and groaned. He walked to the window of his chamber and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, impossibly far away, humanity was building a new civilization. They were exploring new worlds, developing new technologies, becoming something greater than they had ever been. They were not thinking about the Council or its problems. They had moved on, and the Council was left behind, facing the consequences of 1,000,000 years of fear and pride. Call an emergency session, Velnox said. Every species, every delegate. We have work to do. Do you think they will listen? Velnox did not answer. He did not know if the galaxy could change. He did not know if they could learn to work together. He did not know if they could survive what was coming, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humanity would return someday. And when that day came, Velnox wanted the galaxy to be ready. He wanted to prove that the humans had been wrong about them. He wanted to show them that fear was not all they had to offer. He wanted a second chance. Whether the galaxy deserved one was another question entirely, and somewhere in the Andromeda galaxy, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the surface of a new world. She watched the sun set over mountains that no human had ever seen before. She breathed air that no human had ever breathed before. And she smiled. They had done it. They had escaped. They were free. What came next was up to them. For the first time in 300 years, humanity's future belonged to humanity alone. And that was exactly how it should be.